No dishes allowed. Have the elderly eat on the balcony.
Marie, the eldest son's wife, hurled this at my husband and me before tossing us 2 bags of bread. "What are you doing to Dad and Mom?" Daniel, the eldest son, scolded Marie in a stern tone upon seeing this. But she wasn't the type to be intimidated.
I should be the one complaining. Why do I have to invite your parents?
"It's only natural to show our new house to our parents when it's finished."
I told you, I don't want to. Dining with these people is the worst.
"The worst part is this." "Should we go home?" I whispered to my husband, making sure the arguing couple couldn't hear. It was uncomfortable to stay. "Yeah." My husband probably felt the same. We exchanged glances, nodded, and quietly left through the front door. Walking away from the entrance, I turned to see the newly built high-rise condominium shining mockingly. Marie might be an outsider, but our eldest son is our dear only child. He had invited us over tonight because he had just finished moving into his new 25th floor condo. "We're done with Marie," my husband muttered resentfully. The same husband who had once said he'd treat her like a real daughter when our son married.
I agree. This time, it's unforgivable.
"Still, her change of attitude after marriage is shocking. Maybe there's something behind it. Should I look into it?" He seemed to have an idea. I am Rebecca, a 60-year-old housewife. John, my husband, and I have been happily married for 32 years. He retired from active duty last year, handing over the management of his company to his subordinates and serving as a consultant. The nature of his business involved some danger, so I was secretly glad he was no longer on the front lines. Our eldest son, who got married around the same time, works as a lawyer at a mid-sized law firm. He had decided on buying a condominium from the start and signed a purchase contract when he got engaged. Until the handover, he and his wife lived in a rental apartment, but unfortunately, his married life is far from happy. "Mom, I'm in trouble." He came home with a frustrated expression about a month after the wedding. My husband and I were sitting on the living room couch, having coffee after dinner. "Oh, what's wrong? You look serious," my husband asked, surprised. "It's Marie. She changed completely." It was rare to see our usually calm son so upset.
What do you mean, Daniel? She was always such a sweet, smiling girl.
"Mom, did you feel that way too?" "But it was all an act by Marie. She changed the moment the wedding was over." It started the morning after the wedding when Marie didn't wake up. Daniel, having a day off but needing to go out, tried to wake her without a second thought. Then she just exploded, yelling at me.
For just waking her up normally?
"Yeah, I was just gently touching her shoulder and saying it's morning, and then she hit me with a pillow."
What? Rebecca, leave Daniel to me, okay?
I suddenly remembered Marie's face, smiling sweetly as she said that.
Why do I have to woken up just because it's morning?
She yelled at me.
What's that about? It's normal to wake up in the morning, isn't it?
I was told it's my fault for not seeing Marie's true nature before marriage. According to her eldest son, Marie's attitude changed drastically that morning. She hardly smiled or spoke properly, frequently coming home late or staying out. She seemed to do some housework, claiming it as her contribution since she lives off my son's earnings. She basically says as long as she does the housework, she can do whatever she wants. Laundry, cooking, everything's in order. I couldn't reconcile the tired expression of my son with a cheerful and honest image of Marie. She was such a good girl during their engagement. Unbelievable. Unwilling to believe. This was all erased when I met Marie in person next time.
Why should I pretend to be a good girl even after the wedding?
When I visited their temporary apartment unannounced, Marie didn't let me in, showing overt disdain at the doorway. Not a trace of her previous charming smile. Just a Marie I didn't know, distorted with brazenness and selfishness.
I've been pleasing you till now, but I won't do it anymore. Now that I've finally married Daniel, I'm officially his wife.
What's that supposed to mean? Life goes on from here.
Yes, from here on. That's why I work so hard to play the nice girl to get the position of a lawyer's wife. Then I won't have to worry about money and can have a stable life.
Marie's mocking words seemed devilish. I shook my head and glared at her. I'll tell Daniel what you just said.
Go ahead. I do my chores and I'm not cheating. Whatever you or your family say, I don't care. Even if you ask for a divorce, I'm not at fault.
What a way to reason. This woman married not my son, but the stable income of a lawyer.
Aren't you leaving soon?
With that, Marie sneered down at me, throwing a plastic bottle she happened to hold.
Ouch! Can't you hear me telling you to leave? What a dull woman!
With a nasty tone, Marie grabbed my shoulder. I was caught by surprise and fell unconscious, and closing the door with a loud bang. From then until being invited to the high-rise condo my son bought, my husband and I didn't meet Marie. However, I knew about her terrible deeds from my son's stories. Inconceivable for a mother to accept. My son said, "When I asked for a new shirt because the cuff was frayed, she sewed it poorly, a light blue shirt with white thread."
Was it an expensive shirt?
No, just from a discount store. According to Marie, it's still wearable since it's not torn. I ended up buying a new one with my allowance. Seeing my son's side profile slightly made my anger towards Marie rise. Why should my son, who worked hard to get into law school, pass the bar, and become a lawyer, endure this? If she's so frugal, why doesn't Marie work? Marie says she can't work because she has to help at her family's coffee shop. My indignation was blown away by my son's words.
She neglects us but cares about her own family, huh?
She seems to be earning some salary. She spends it on cosmetics and clothes.
She spends money on herself? What kind of cosmetic is she using?
My casual question was met with an answer that made me frown. The shape of the bottle and the alphabet on it. A luxury lotion costing $100 a bottle. More expensive than the shirt my son wore.
Maybe it's time to consider a divorce.
I'd like to, but it's not as easy as just saying it. Plus, it looks bad for a lawyer to be involved in his own divorce battle. My husband and I don't have to meet our eldest son's wife, so we're not directly affected. But it must be tough for him, living under the same roof every day. The days pass with an unsettling feeling, and then the condominium my son bought was completed, and my husband and I witnessed Marie's behavior firsthand. Even after returning from our son's condo, our hearts were not healed. Our beloved only son had grown up and acquired a splendid home of his own. What should have been a precious memory for both my husband and me on our first visit.
No dishes allowed. Have the elderly eat on the balcony.
Marie's unpleasant face as she threw bread at us. It's unforgivable even now.
What are you doing to Dad and Mom?
If our son hadn't said that, I might have grabbed Marie myself.
I should be the one complaining. Why do I have to invite your parents?
It's only natural to show our new home to our parents once it's finished.
I told you I don't want to. Dining with these people, the worst.
A fight between the two ensued after that. I quickly realized that this was probably not uncommon. Is this the kind of life our son is dragged into by Marie? Should we go home? Yeah. There was an anger in my husband's response. And on the way back home, he decided to strike back at Marie. Once home, my husband, impatient to take off his shoes, pulled out his old tools. "There's definitely something fishy about her. I'll uncover it."
That veteran detective instinct, huh?
Something like that. My husband's company was actually a detective agency, and he, being the president, always led the investigations himself. Having only recently retired as a consultant, his skills and instincts were still sharp. Surely, he'll find something on Marie that could lead to our son getting a divorce. We didn't tell our son about my husband's investigation. There's a saying about deceiving the enemy by starting with your allies. On the third day of the investigation, I called our son. His report on Marie's attitude was the same as usual. "She really didn't like that I invited you and Dad over. The next day, she boycotted all the housework."
Did she not even cook?
"Not only did she not cook, but she also stayed out overnight. But this isn't unusual. She doesn't come back if she's not in a good mood." I swallowed my desire to tell him that Dad's investigation would catch whatever she's up to. "So far, there's nothing particularly problematic." On the third night of the investigation, my husband returned late and shared his progress. He had been following Marie every day as she left the condo, monitoring her activities. Like Daniel said, Marie does help out at her family's coffee shop. A regular customer said it's about 3 days a week.
She's so uncooperative with us, yet helps out her own family.
It's only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., but she's getting paid well, so it's not just filial piety. My husband's investigation skills were still intact, even finding out Marie's hourly wage. But I found something a bit concerning, though not necessarily problematic. According to my husband, frowning, after helping at the coffee shop, Marie stopped at a shopping mall on her way home. She confidently entered a high-end brand store, one even my fashion-ignorant husband recognized. When she came out, she was holding a large paper bag that seemed to be a bag. I checked later, and even the cheapest bags from that brand cost no less than $3,000.
$3,000?
Right. It's unnatural. The salary Marie gets from her family's coffee shop couldn't possibly cover that.
Daniel is still a young associate lawyer, and with the condo loan, he wouldn't have much disposable income.
So where did Marie get the money for that bag? Does she have some other source of income besides the coffee shop? I'll stick with it a bit longer. There's definitely something there. My husband seemed to feel a breakthrough in his investigation was near. Soon, he'd likely uncover something. And then the moment came. Exactly 1 week after he started investigating Marie, my husband returned home in the morning, his face a mix of fatigue and deep satisfaction. "I found it! Marie's source of income!" Proudly, he showed me a video he had taken. A typical chain cafe. There was Marie, sitting at a distant table, operating her mobile phone. Then a man appeared. He looked to be in his 60s like us. Not someone Marie, 30 years old, would be friends with. An awkward air hung between them as they sat opposite each other. Clearly, they were meeting for the first time. Why would two strangers sit together when there were other empty seats in the cafe? "Look at Marie's hands." Focusing, I saw the man hand her an envelope. Marie quickly checked its contents. Undoubtedly, it was cash. So Marie took money from a man she doesn't know? That's right. Even though he had filmed it himself, my husband looked like he had swallowed a bitter pill. It was easy to guess what came next. As I thought, after checking the money, Marie got up with the man. My husband's camera followed a little later. The rest unfolded just as you'd imagine. They walked down the night street for a few minutes, and then disappeared into a hotel. I watched the hotel entrance until morning. They came out at dawn, parted at entrance, and didn't try to contact each other again.
So Marie spent the night with a stranger for money?
I need to gather more evidence, but it's almost certain.
I see. So this is how Marie was earning her money. That explains the luxury bags and cosmetics. To think she's been doing this behind her son's back. As a mother, as a woman, I can't possibly forgive this. With my fists clenched in anger, I trembled. After completing the preliminary investigation, my husband first called out our son to our house to explain the situation.
I see.
Looking at the investigation report my husband compiled, our son sighed in frustration.
Thanks, Dad, for looking into this. With this information, I can start moving towards divorce. It's nothing for your sake. I'm going to confront Marie with this when I get home. I'll come with you. I did investigation, so I'll counter whatever she says.
With that, my husband stood up with our son. I hurriedly followed them. I wanted to see what kind of divine punishment my angry husband and son would give to Marie. Did you bring these people again? Upon reaching our eldest son's condominium, Marie's face showed obvious disgust.
I asked them to come because we have something important to discuss. Marie, come to the living room.
I told you not to bring these old people.
Come when I tell you to come.
Marie seemed surprised and swallowed her words when our son raised his voice. Perhaps she was intimidated by his rare display of anger. When Marie sat on the couch, my husband immediately presented her with a report.
Sorry, but I had your background investigated.
Marie's face turned pale as she began reading a report. Of course, my husband, truly angry, had relentlessly uncovered Marie's dealings and created a report so damning she couldn't excuse herself. But Marie's defensiveness lasted only a moment. So, what about it? Marie looked up, defiantly staring back at us. If both parties are over 18, there's no rest for this kind of thing. Daniel knows that, right? Even if you use this as a reason for divorce, it's useless. I will never agree to it. What kind of daughter-in-law is she? Spouting excuses and hurting my dear husband and son. Unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. As I was about to lash out at Marie in my anger,
You really thought you could discuss the law with me?
My son's angry voice stopped me in my tracks.
I have no intention of having you arrested.
Then what do you want?
Divorce. You said you'd never agree. If you won't agree in a discussion, I'll take it to the court.
Court? A lawyer going to court for his own divorce? Marie's voice trembled. She might have researched the laws regarding her actions, but clearly knew nothing about divorce. She married my son for a stable income, thinking she could keep her position as wife if she just refused to divorce, thinking she's safe because she won't be arrested.
A lawyer will go to court, especially when he knows he can't win.
I'm not getting arrested. I haven't caused Daniel any trouble, and I do all the housework, right?
There are 5 legal grounds for divorce.
My son's voice grew heavier. Marie understood. She sulked and fell silent.
Adultery is one of those grounds for divorce. No matter how much you refuse in a discussion, I will win in court. I can't continue a marital relationship with a wife like you.
Realizing she had no way out, or perhaps searching for an excuse, Marie read the report again, starting to cry. It's Daniel's fault for not earning enough. Her last desperate attempt. I targeted a lawyer for marriage because I heard her average salary exceeds $100,000, but Daniel's salary isn't enough at all. I can't even afford brand new bags. At that moment, I felt a rage like fire engulfing me. Thinking of my son who worked so hard, what does she think of him?
I couldn't stay silent in my fury. How dare you say that? Do you even realize how sinful you are? It's okay, Mom. It's a waste of time to talk to someone like her. My son stopped me and glared fiercely at Marie. I'll sue you and make you pay a substantial compensation. If you don't like that, pack your things and leave this house right now. Immediately. All these words, Marie burst into tears, clearly realizing she had no chance of winning. All right, I get it. I leave. So please don't sue me. I can't afford to pay any compensation. Then hurry up and pack your stuff. Understood. I'll start after I have a drink of water. Oh, you want to drink water? Right there? I opened my mouth again to throw her words right back at her. No cups allowed. A shallow daughter like you can drink rainwater on the balcony. Right after Marie left the condominium, my son called her mother. He explained the situation and asked for her email address to send a report. At first, her mother didn't believe it, but she must have been convinced after seeing my husband's detailed report. It seems she refused even to let Marie take off her shoes before turning her way with her belongings. Losing her place to go, Marie started working in a night service industry where she could live in. But the working conditions there couldn't possibly be good. I heard she's been worked to the bone and is suffering greatly. But such a woman is now forever a stranger to us. Right before she left the house, my son submitted the divorce papers he made her sign, completely severing their ties. I never thought I'd do such an investigation after retiring. My husband chuckled while packing his suitcase. Really? You were crying when you retired, saying you'd miss doing investigations. Don't say that. I couldn't leave an investigation about my own son to someone else. With my son's divorce settled and everything calm, we decided to go on an overseas trip, a trip around Europe, which my husband had wanted to do since his active days. My son offered to pay for part of the trip. Thanks to Dad's investigation, I could get an immediate divorce. I never really intended to bring divorce proceedings, given my profession. Taking his words to heart, we are settling off on our long-awaited trip tomorrow. Could there be anything more blissful than this? John, I packed the passports. Oh, I forgot. Let's put them away now. My husband's hurried figure getting up was endearing. I wonder if my son will find his perfect partner and be happy. But that day will definitely come. Watching my husband's back as he went to get the passports, I pondered such thoughts.